Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you're having a good Monday. Jermall Charlo returned to the ring after 2.5 years, and he still retains the WBC middleweight title. This was a fight against Jose Benadvidez Jr. And Benadvidez Jr. is a gatekeeper type, good fighter, but not you wouldn't call him an A-lister. So it was essentially a rust shedder for Charlo. I should also mention that Benadvidez has fought down at welterweight, I think, maybe even lower. He was never going to beat Charlo unless Charlo was really suffering a lot of personal demons, which he's been battling over the last 2.5 years, whatever it is. But the question really is, what did Charlo look like? You know, he got the job done. He won a unanimous 10-round decision. I had it 98-92 for Charlo. And the first 2 rounds I thought it was interesting because Charlo, he obviously looked so much bigger than Benadvidez. He has all the talent in the world. You know, when he lets his punches go, they flow nicely. He seems to have a high ring IQ. He knows what punch to fire when. He controlled the distance. Okay, you can argue, yeah, he's in against a smaller man, a gatekeeper, but for the first 2 rounds, I thought his mind's not on his work. What's going on here? I've got to be honest. He just didn't look interested, and it was only from about the 3rd round onward. In fact, in the first round, as I said in my review of the fight, there was one little thing that kind of summed everything up, and that was that towards the end of the first round, Benadvidez came out with intent. You know, he pushed Charlo back onto the ropes near one of the corners. He was railing on him, and then Charlo landed. I think it was a backhand, or it could have been a hook. I can't remember, to be honest. But it sent Benadvidez tottering backwards, and it seemed to me that was, you know, the sheer size, the strength, the weight of punch from a much bigger man. Benadvidez, you thought, oh, okay, you know, everybody was doing well in that round, but clearly he doesn't want to get greedy. He doesn't want to just stand in front of Charlo. The only chance he had was to sort of nitpick away and pinch the fight off Charlo in a sense. Now, from the 3rd round onwards, Charlo started to go to work, and as I say, when he did let his punches go, he looked very, very impressive. I mean, it wasn't a case of him looking, overly motivated, but his mind suddenly was on the job, and it was all Benadvidez could do and he fought back. He fought very gallantly, but it was all he could do to sort of get through the rounds without too much damage, and he wasn't going to win many of them. But after 10 rounds, I thought, okay, that's a nice little rust shedder for Charlo, but I wonder what his mental health's like. I wonder, because maybe the little slow start that he had was more to do with being out for 2.5 years, which is a long stretch by anyone's imagination. And then he was interviewed afterwards, and to start with, he gave monosyllabic answers. He almost didn't speak. He just didn't seem interested in speaking. Either that or he couldn't find the words. And he had the sort of rather far and away or vacant look that someone whose mind is, very much elsewhere has. He didn't look like he was really in the room, if you know what I mean, or in the ring, shall we say. He didn't seem to know what to say. Now, eventually, his mental cogs got whirring, and he was able to say, thank you to Al Heyman and the WBC and Showtime and all the rest of it. So he said something eventually, but there was that look and as someone who works with an awful lot of people who do have mental health issues and emotional issues, because they're two different things that often overlap, mental health and your emotional issues. He had that look of someone who was still in the throes of some personal demons. So he's now 33, so he's still got a little bit of time, maybe a couple of years to make up for lost time. He did say in the ring, actually, I lost a lot of time, you don't get that back. And that was in his post-fight interview. And, that shows some sort of lucidity, that he's aware of that. What he doesn't want to do is to start thinking, okay, I've got to work doubly hard. I've got to rush. Because I've got to make up for lost time, because things have to, pan out at their own rate, in a natural rate. You can't force these things. So if I was him, this is just, look, I'm not diagnosing the guy. I'm just looking from the outside in. trying to sort of see if I can see something that I perhaps normally see in my everyday work. And I do see some things. I do see a man who's got some mental and or emotional issues. But if I was him, I would have another couple of 10-rounders, or at least one more 10-rounder against an opponent like Benavidez, and I'd have it within the next 3 or 4 months to see where he's at. Obviously, the WBC aren't going to strip him. Now, I think they should have done it. What they should have done is they should have made him champion in recess, and then the whole purpose of interim champions is for a situation like this, where you've got a guy whose mental health isn't great, or he's got a serious physical injury, and he has to get himself ready. So you say, okay, you go and sort yourself out, and we'll have an interim champion. That was the concept of it. Now they have interim champions when they don't need them, of course, because it's all about sanctioning fees. But they should have taken that belt off Charlo. I don't see him making 160 again. He was 3.5 pounds overweight, and this was set at 163 anyway. So he's really a super middle now, it looks like. Maybe over time he can get down to 160, but at 33 your body doesn't take the weight off as easily. And that begs the question, who's up there at 168? Well, we saw Jose Benadvidez's brother David looking fantastic against Demetrius Andrade. No, I think he'd smash through Charlo. Although Charlo would give him a row, and of course Charlo against Canelo, his brother, the undisputed, or former undisputed, super welterweight champ, went up 2 divisions and lost on points to Canelo, and didn't really try to win. He had a sort of, I guess you'd call it a journeyman's mentality. Can Jermall do better than Jermall? He needs more fight. He needs to get the machinery oiled and running, and then he can maybe go for a run at 168. If he can get down to 160, that'll be good, because it's less of a minefield than 168. But I don't think the purpose of this video, is to really look at his, how let's sort of try and work out, and of course this is all conjecture, where he's at mentally, because I think that is obviously his main hurdle, his mental health. Can he get back to a good place where he's fully motivated, where he believes in himself 100%, where he actually wants to box? 100% wants to box, because as we know, if you're not 100% in all of those areas, you shouldn't be in a ring. You're going to get hurt. You can maybe get away with it against lesser lights, but against the elite, you're going to get smashed up. So leave your thoughts below about Jermall Charlo. Where do you think he's at? What do you think of the performance, all things considered, against Benavidez? Let me know. Comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. That would be fantastic. Hit the like button, and I will look at your comments and answer them. And as always, take care of yourselves, and bye for now.